Bruce, you must have something really good too.
Of course I do. It's Bruce Danielson, and I guess I'm here to entertain you too.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday, June 16, Sioux Falls City Council meeting. Thanks for being here or joining us remotely. I think we have one counselor joining us remotely tonight, so we'll go ahead and get started by reading our roll, please.
Council members Neitzer.
Here.
Delberg.
Here.
Sale.
Here.
Starr.
Here.
Staley.
Here.
Brecky.
Here.
Erickson. Kiley.
Here.
All right. Pastor Austin White is going to be giving our invocation tonight from Celebrate Church. Pastor White, are you with us on the phone?
I don't believe he dialed in, Mayor.
He did not dial in. All right. Well, I will give the invocation then. Let's go ahead and stand. Oh, do we have a man of the cloth here? Would you mind, sir? Sure, that's fine. Okay, can you come up here to the mic? And we're going to make a real production out of it so the people at home can hear you too, if that's okay. What's your name, sir?
I'm Father Paul Snavy.
All right. Father Paul Snavy is here.
Sir?
And we're...
So you can come right there. Okay.
And what congregation are you with, sir?
Calvary Cathedral, Episcopal.
Calvary Cathedral. Well, thanks for pinch hitting tonight. We appreciate it.
Hey, no problem.
All right. The floor is yours.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, without you, all governments would have no effect. Be with us this time and keep our hearts, our thoughts on you and your blessings and the good people that we serve. Bless those that are gathered here, that our hearts would be upon your people and your will. Bless those who are far away and who are near, those who are the weakest among us, the poorest among us, and in the most need. We commend all this to you in your precious name, Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Father, that was a great omen that you were here.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, I'm going to ask Counselor Starr to join me up front. We have a special presentation to make tonight. Come on over. Every several weeks we have what we call superhero awards that honor heroes among us in our community. And Counselor Starr nominated you, young man, for this award. And so we're honored that you have your family and friends here with us tonight for that. And I'm going to let Counselor Starr read that nomination.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my honor tonight. L. Kenneth Salisbury is a World War II vet who participated in D-Day 76 years ago this month as an Army Corps pilot on board a cargo plane that flew troops and supplies into France in the hours and days after the original Normandy invasion. Kenneth continued his service years later with his involvement in the setup and execution of the Honor Flights program in South Dakota. This effort provides veterans an opportunity to see their respective war memorials in Washington, D.C. at no cost to the veterans. Kenneth has also been active in the Scottish Rite with the Speech and Language Clinic, as well as the El Riyadh Shrine. In fact, this Sunday, he will be celebrating his 70th anniversary of becoming a Master Mason, which includes a mini parade by his home with numerous units from the shrine, as well as his family and other friends participating. On behalf of the Sioux Falls City Council and the Mayor, thank you, Kenneth, for your service on behalf of a very grateful nation. Your service to our nation and community is why tonight we recognize you as a superhero. Thank you. And then if we could, we'll get, Jim's got a, did you get all of us in, or did we get, kind of, that's not my good side, so. We can turn you this way, we'll get you a great picture. That's right. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We're good. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Kenneth. Appreciate your service.
Do you have someone special, though, that you need to introduce right behind you here? Who's this good-looking lady?
Beg pardon?
Who's this nice lady behind you that's pushing your chair? Who's this sweetheart?
I'm what's her name?
What's her name?
Yeah, you can.
I'm Arta Salisbury.
Arda?
A-R-T-A, yes.
Yeah, we got married in 1948, so we're in this coming October, we'll be celebrating our 72nd anniversary.
Wow, give them a round of applause for that. That's incredible.
These kids are pretty much the result of all of that union.
Well, it looks like you did a good job, so, but incredible honor to be able to give you this award tonight. Thank you, Counselor Starr, for nominating Kenneth for this. So, and if you'd like, you can stay for the city council meeting if you don't have a hot date lined up, but otherwise, if you do. And I was telling someone earlier, I was supposed to put on a shirt and jacket before the meeting. I didn't have time and I forgot, so I wore my Army green just for you today. So, all right, in honor of the award. So thank you. Thank you guys for being here. Oh, what a neat guy, neat couple. It's hard for the meeting to get much better than that. Should we just adjourn, or should we go through with the rest of this?
I'm capable.
All right. All right, we'll move on to item 5, which is our consent agenda. Look for any changes or motions to that.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Starr, go ahead.
Item number
Mr. Mayor?
7.
Councilor Starr first, and then I'll come to you, Councilor Brecky.
Yes. Item number 7, sub-item number 13 on the list of contracts and agreements.
Okay, we'll pull item 7, sub-item 13 from the contracts and agreements for discussion. Other changes, Councilor Brecky.
This would just be a change to the approval of the minutes. Councilors Kylie and I were present at the meeting, and our audio went down just as we did the vote on the canvas. So we would like the minutes to reflect that we both voted yes on the canvas because both of us did, and we really did think that that was actually recorded. And when we found out that it wasn't, I wanted to go out through this process to make sure that the minutes reflect that we were present and that we voted yes to the canvas.
Got it. Councilor Kylie, do you concur with that correction?
I do.
All right. Any councilors have any issues with that? Okay. The minutes will be changed to reflect that, Councilor Brecky and Kylie. Any other changes to the agenda? Move approval. All right, do I have a second?
Second, Sale.
Motion to approve it by Selberg, seconded by Councilor Sale. Any discussion, council? All right, let's take a vote on that, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr. Yes. Staley,
Yes.
Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson. Yes. Kylie.
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. We'll move on to our next item, which is item 25, our regular agenda. Look for a motion on that.
Move approval. Second, Sale.
All right, motion approved by Selberg, and that's seconded by Councilor Sale. Any discussion on our regular agenda, council? All right, hearing none, let's take a vote on that, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg. Yes. Sale,
Yes.
Starr? Yes. Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. We're at the general public input portion of our agenda tonight, and as a reminder, input during this portion will last no more than 3 minutes per person, and in total last no more than 30 minutes. During general public input, the public is welcome to speak on any topic that does not appear later in the agenda. For regular agenda items following general public input, comments are limited to 3 minutes unless the item is being presented for final adoption, in which case public input is limited to 5 minutes. For all regular agenda items, comments are limited to the agenda item under consideration only. And at this time, I'd like to invite members of the public forward for general public input. Clerk, please note our time right now is 7:10. Good evening. Come on forward. I know, a little high. There you go.
I'm just really short. Well, good evening. My name is Quinn Kaitner, and I'm the president of Sioux Falls Pride. We are a very large LGBT organization right here in Sioux Falls, and I want to take a moment to talk about just what we've been doing this year and to invite you to our visibility celebration on Saturday, June 20th, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. at City Hall. We're going to be welcoming our LGBT community to fly the flag and our proud allies to join us as well. Earlier in the past couple of weeks, we attempted to pass some documentation that would help fly the pride flag above City Hall. And while that did not go through, we understand that the reason is due to policy. We don't argue against that, but we turn to that and say there's opportunity there. And we understand that the policies are in place for a reason. And we just want to make sure that we are upholding our end at Sioux Falls Pride and just making sure that we're respectful of the policies. And we look forward to working with the city of Sioux Falls for our future festivals because they do bring in a lot of revenue for the city of Sioux Falls. And not only that, they provide a lot of faith and inspiration for our community members here who are very visible. During this year, we celebrate 20 years of visibility in Sioux Falls. That's crazy. That is amazing. 20 years as an organization of visibility. And yes, we've gone through some name changes along the way, but our faith and our visibility and our mission statement remains the same. And we are very excited to continue to be a part of One Sioux Falls because Sioux Falls Pride does want to work with the city and we do want to be a visible part of One Sioux Falls. We answer that call because we've just seen what happens with our community when we go through a crisis. And we really want to be there when everybody needs us to be. I do want to also say thank you. I want to say thank you to Mayor Paul Tenhaken. We really appreciate the proclamation that you've signed last year and this year. And that does resonate with our community members. And I would like to yield the next individual, Boots Among Trees, who's also a Sioux Falls Pride Committee member and board member. They're going to read the proclamation as a celebration to recognize our visibility of our LGBT community right here in Sioux Falls with everyone today. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a great evening.
Thanks, Quinn. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Boots Among Trees, and I am Community Action Liaison for Sioux Falls Pride, and I would just like to read the proclamation. Whereas in 2020, more than 11 million Americans openly identify as LGBTQ, including more than 30,000 South Dakotans. Whereas June is designated International Gay Pride Month, honoring the history and achievements of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and two-spirit community members, all who identify as members of our community. Whereas according to the Center for American Progress, a quarter of LGBTQ individuals experience discrimination in some form every year. Whereas more than a third of LGBTQ high school students and college students continue to experience discrimination that negatively affects their ability to learn and to feel accepted. Whereas the friends, family members, supporters, and members of the LGBTQ community know their own hopes, dreams, and voices cannot be silenced by hatred and bigotry. Whereas Sioux Falls Pride, here in Sioux Falls, is mission-bound to bettering the lives of LGBTQ residents and families of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and the surrounding area. Now, therefore, as Paul Tenhaken, Mayor of City of Sioux Falls, hereby proclaim June 2020 as Pride Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Boots. All right, anyone else for public input this evening, please come forward. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Once again, looking at a tough crowd. Tonight's presentation reminded me that my brother was born on D-Day, 1944, and a rather special day in the world. When someone is not here present, it would be nice if you could put a computer screen up there with their face looking out at us so we know that they are not absent, but they are part of it. And that's a technology that would be easily done. So otherwise you don't know who is and who isn't here. I would like to recommend that maybe the mayor have, since we're in a new political situation, something that NASCAR does, that everybody here wears badges on who is sponsoring them. You know, whether you're a banker or whether you have a very special person who you are voting for, that you would wear the badge so we can identify that. We'll know when the pandemic is over, when our governor spends 4 hours on the cutting line at Smithfield and our fine president spends the same weekend with an hour at a synagogue and an hour at a church, that we'll know the pandemic is definitely over. Oh, and the last piece of advice, if you're wearing a mask and you have a breath mint and it doesn't smell better, get a new one.
All right, thank you, Bob. Good evening.
Greetings. I'm David Zokaitis, and I've got 2 topics. First, my rally got approved. We got a place, we got a time, and we're going to get going and get a whole lot of people and talk about peace, liberty, justice. It'll be great. All right. Now, my main topic tonight is felony voter disenfranchisement. Kind of a scary topic. But the basic problem is that if you're in a prison or if you have a felony on your record, you can't vote. There's the South Dakota law that says that, and your entire sentence has to be done before you can vote. That includes restitution. And felons, disproportionately poor, disproportionately minorities. Not a good policy. And the problem with restitution is sometimes you can never, ever pay it off. If you're coming out of prison, you get a minimum wage job. If you're lucky, if you barely make ends meet and then you're supposed to pay restitution, sometimes it just never happens. And then you can never vote. Well, now if you think of what this does to separating our society, it turns a whole bunch of people into second-class citizens. Well, maybe we don't want that to happen. And so the bigger question is, what's the real goal behind restitution and behind our criminal justice system? Are we trying to punish people, or are we trying to reduce crime? Because we will have very different policies depending upon what our goals are. And the bigger question behind that big question is, who does our government really work for? If you want a mentality of punishment, well, then maybe you're working for people that benefit from that. If you're looking for peace in the average and the common good, probably a whole different approach. Now, I noticed doing my research on other topics that city law can supersede state law. It's kind of a surprise to me, but there's an example there where the city mandated a change to state law. So we can use that later. So my recommendations for all this is that the city of Sioux Falls should supersede state law and reject the disenfranchisement of people in prison or that have felonies on the record. You know, they're still people, they should vote. And one of the advantages of encouraging voting is that it discourages recidivism. There we go. And it promotes reintegration into society. Valuable goals. Now, I was out in my vegetable garden, and I noted a couple of pretty little flowers, so I thought that might brighten your evening. Try to enjoy life, and then worrying about recidivism isn't quite so bad. So, good evening, everybody.
Thanks, David. Good evening.
Sierra Broussard, Sioux Falls. So we're going to get into with Tom Greco here this evening because we cannot sugarcoat and play politics. So Mr. Greco told me on the phone that everything that comes out of my mouth he doesn't believe. But we do know that we have ballots that is not accounted for. We do know from Joe Sneeby that they were going to wait to the next day to finish up the election because they had to go through the county ballots to make sure that the city ballots wasn't mixed up with the county ballots. All of a sudden, that night after council meeting, then the votes came, Teresa lost by 110. I don't care what Tom Greco says. I have enough citizens backing me. We know we was there and we was poll election workers. It was corrupted and it was a total disaster, okay? So I don't care how we're gonna sugarcoat this. City employees, he got his city employees to go count ballots because we had enough election workers. On that Monday, they decided that they were gonna pull election workers and say that we don't need you no more. There were 30 of them. They cannot come here tonight because some of them are school teachers, some of them are nurses, some of them work for the Social Security Office and Homeland Security. There's reasons why people's not coming up here and telling government how corrupted they was for this election, okay? There's reasons. People's jobs are on the line on this, okay? So Mr. Greco better thank God that the city council put him in this position, because if he was an elected official, he would not be sitting right there where he's at. I don't need Tom Greco's approval for nothing. I know what happened in that election. We know that there's ballots that was not accounted for because they came in late, they got mixed up in county, or they came in later, they got mixed up in the mail. We know that. We know on that sheet that we get from the county, computer, when you're a Republican, that sheet's supposed to say you're a Republican. It said that they were a Democrat. And then from a Democrat, it said they were a Republican. So we do have issues of corruption in there, Mr. Tom Greco. So before you call me out on anything, know your facts. I was there and I lived it and I proved it. So now the city needs to make sure that when election people get ballots, that when it says Joe Blow, Republican, that it says Joe Blow, Republican on our sheets, because it very well offends people when we say, no, I'm sorry, you got to vote for Democrat, but yet in the computer system it says Republican.
All right, thank you. Anyone else this evening? Please come forward. Good evening.
Sorry, I'm going to be reading off my phone here.
No problem.
Okay. Hi, my name is Grace Mortensen, and I emailed the city councilor and the mayor early this week about altering the policy to get the LGBT pride flag flown at City Hall for Pride Week. I emailed why I believed that it should be flown at City Hall, and I received positive responses from the council, but the email I received from the mayor's office was kind of disheartening. In the email, which was not written by him, it was signed by someone else, the pride flag was compared to the Confederate flag, and I think that these flags are not similar in any way, because the Confederate flag is an outdated symbol of white supremacy and thrives on the oppression of minorities, while the pride flag is a celebration of identity and the progression of society towards a more accepting mindset. The comparison of these two flags is very disheartening and equates the pride movement to something that should be hated when really it's something that should be about bringing joy to everyone. Additionally, the email I received stated in order to create an equitable community, we cannot fly flags from special groups. I find that excluding large groups of a community actually does the opposite of that. By excluding a large part of the population, our city can't become more equitable because we are not accepting to everyone. The honorable thing to do is support your citizens. Oh, lost my spot, sorry. Whether they be member of the LGBT community or not. This year, due to COVID-19 restrictions, we are unable to have Pride Parade like we normally would, and so getting the flag flown would be the next closest thing we could have to a physical celebration with everyone there for Pride. So I was going to ask if there was a way we could change the policy just for the 1 week and let us fly the flag at City Hall for Pride, because this is the last form of celebration we have left for this year. I know being a government for the people is difficult, but changing policy is a step that we can take to foster a more accepting society and one that supports its citizens regardless of how they live their personal lives. The Pride movement has struggled for so long to gain the momentum it currently has, and we will continue to push forward even if the policy tries to slow us down. I know that I am not alone when I say this. My generation is now old enough to vote, and we will remember this and whether or not we felt we were accepted by the government's policy. And if we are not accepted, we are going to vote to change the policy in a way that will make us feel accepted. So please help us change the policy and let us celebrate Pride the only way we have left. Fly the flag for Pride Week and celebrate our differing identities. We will be stronger as a city if we stand together. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Anyone else this evening? All right, clerk, next item, please.
Mayor, the next item is the item pulled from the Contracts and Agreements, sub-item 13, Department Attorney. The project description is engagement agreement from Lynn Jackson Schultz and LeBrun PC. The amount $7,500 not to exceed.
All right, Councilor Starr.
Yes, thank you. The reason I pulled this item is I was just a little confused by the email from the city attorney's office and was looking for some enlightenment. The $7,500, is that for the previous, sorry, let me back up. This is for representation when the city attorney had to recuse himself because a city councilor was accused of an ethics violation. So because the city attorney represents the council, they have to recuse themselves, and we bring in an outside attorney. So the explanation that we got from the city attorney's office was that it was for the previous, and then I believe there's another ethics board hearing scheduled for this week on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm trying to figure out if this is for the past payment or the future payment or a combination thereof.
Yeah. It's a combination thereof. As the email referenced, there's one that occurred previously, and there's another complaint that's pending, from which I will be recusing myself.
Great. My other question is, because it is a city councilor that's accused, shouldn't the money come from the council's budget, the money that we have in the $12,500 that we budget annually to cover that expense?
This recusal is based on the fact that a city official has been accused of a complaint. I think you're presupposing facts there that do not exist, and this is a confidential process under City Ordinance 35.009.
Thank you.
So I think that's.
Councilor Erickson?
I just would, I guess I'm not aware that a city councilor has a ethics violation against them for next week. So my question is, if it's a confidential, how would you have that information?
Because the accuser stood right here, and we saw the article in the newspaper that was written. The accused mentioned in the article that that was the case.
So are you saying the person that spoke here was the one that gave you the information?
No, I'm asking the question of where the $7,500 is and how it's being spent.
I'm asking how the information was leaked, and it sounds like you know. So I'm just curious on how that, because I am not aware of any city councilor being brought in front of the ethics committee at this point. And so I'd be curious how that information is known.
I'd encourage you to read the Argus Leader. I think the Argus Leader would encourage you to do that as well. And the accused did comment in the story that they thought it was strictly political.
That was the past one. We're talking about a future one. So I'm curious on what city councilor is being brought forward again and what information is known and being leaked when it was a confidential. I'm done.
Councilor Selberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to be clear, am I clear on this too? If a councilor is accused of anything ethically or has to go through the process, they are responsible for their own legal representation and fees, the way I've understood that. Is that not correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion on this? Councilor Staley?
So what is, okay, Stacy, so we've got half of it that was already spent. Can you tell us what that was spent for?
That was for representation because outside counsel is required to represent the ethics board when I recused myself. And so there was a prior ethics complaint.
Of a counselor?
Complete.
Of a counselor?
Well,
Well, but I mean, here's the deal. If we just said, Selberg just said that if one of us gets an ethics violation, we have to pay for our own attorney.
Well,
So we've got some mysterious money floating around out there that is not, I mean, I'm talking about past experience that apparently we put some money out for a council
Yes,
someone.
That's part of the process, and what I would say is that there isn't an ethics violation out there. There is a process if somebody brings an ethics complaint, and by city ordinance, it's confidential. And so, as far as any past occurrence, there were fees that were charged to the city for that representation because I'm unable, in my capacity, to advise the ethics board, which is by ordinance my duty, but in the event that there's a recusal, then we hire outside counsel because the ethics board requires that representation.
So that would be 30, what are we talking, 30?
35.009.
So $3,500 has already been spent to help with a certain anonymous person in an ethics situation.
We've received. We've received an invoice for $3,750 for the prior, and this is a contract that would be up to $7,500 for future representation in light of a separate complaint.
Right, so I can, if someone were to file an ethics violation against me, I would be entitled to have that same amount of money allocated to me?
Again, no one files an ethics violation. People file an ethics complaint alleging ethics violations. And if someone if someone would bring an ethics complaint against you, yes, Counselor Staley, and really you're not entitled to, no counselor is entitled to that. It's the ethics board that requires representation. And so we have to hire an attorney to advise the board in my absence.
Counselor Erickson?
Just to be very clear, this is not money for a counselor. This is for the ethics board. So if you have a violation, if a complaint is filed against any single counselor, this money isn't for us personally. This is so there's representation for the ethics board, period. You would be responsible for your own representation if you choose to have that or if you choose to defend yourself. I just don't want it floated around that this is because Stacy has to recuse himself, that this would be for the ethics board. They have to have an attorney present for the ethics board. That's what this is for.
Counselor Kiley?
Thank you. And the reason just stated by Counselor Erickson is the reason why it would not come out of the council budget, because it's not representation for the council. Thank you.
Thank you.
So one more question,
Counselor
please.
Staley?
So then when we've had, I know I brought advisory, asked for advisory opinions in the past, which would be going in front of the board. You were able to be there for that. Why aren't you able to be there for these other situations?
Because it's a conflict of interest for a complaint. Since I represent the council, if a counselor is subject to an ethics violation complaint, then that would be a conflict of interest for me. But if it's just a question, an advisory opinion, which are, well, can be open or closed. In your case, it was open. That's one where there's not a conflict of interest because it's an open ethics question where you rely on city ordinance and ethics.
So just for the public to know, if you ever file an ethics violation against a council member, you're going to cost the city approximately about $3,700.
Well, yeah,
Right? Is that-
some are less expensive, some may be more expensive depending on the complexity and the number of complaints that are brought. So it could be, the range, to say that the range is going to be approximately $3,750, it's really unknowable until the process and the procedure work themselves out.
Any other discussion on this matter tonight?
Move to approve, Erickson.
All right, motion to approve it by Counselor Erickson, seconded by Counselor Kiley. All right, final discussion here. All right, let's take a vote on it, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg. Yes. Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Kiley. Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. We'll move on to the next item, please.
Item 27, new 2021 retail malt beverage South Dakota farm wine license for Covert Artisan Ales LLC, Covert Cellars, 434 East 8th Street, CUP not required. Item 28, new 2021 retail malt beverage South Dakota farm wine license for Crown Gaming Incorporated, Crown Casino 413, 2516 West 41st Street, Suite 300, with conditional use permit 0001798-2014 being approved on November 5th, 2014, pending permit issuance and final inspections per building services. Item 29, request to add video lottery terminals with the new 2020-21 retail malt beverage South Dakota farm wine license for Crown Gaming Incorporated, Crown Casino 41-3, 2516 West 41st Street, Suite 300. Item 30, new 2021 retail malt beverage South Dakota farm wine license for Quan Holdings LLC 2, Crown Casino East 3, 2417 East 10th Street, Suite B, with conditional use permit 11818-2020 being approved on April 1st, 2020, pending permit issuance and final inspections per building services. Item 31, request to add video lottery terminals with the new 2020-21 retail malt beverage South Dakota farm wine license for Quan Holdings LLC 2, Crown Casino East 3, 2417 East 10th Street, Suite B. Item 32, new 2020-21 retail malt beverage South Dakota farm wine license for Commonwealth Gaming and Holdings Company, Deuces Casino 9.5, 3401 West 85th Street, Suite B, with conditional use permit 9890-2019 being approved on March 6, 2019, pending permit issuance and final inspections per building services. Item 33, request to add video lottery terminals with the new 2020-21 retail malt beverage South Dakota farm wine license for Commonwealth Gaming and Holdings Company, Deuces Casino 9.5, 3401 West 85th Street, Suite B. Item 34, new 2021 retail malt beverage South Dakota farm wine license for Commonwealth Gaming and Holdings Company, Deuces Casino 9, 3401 West 85th Street, Suite A, with conditional use permit 9890-2019, being approved on March 6, 2019, pending permit issuance and final inspections per building services. Item 35, request to add video lottery terminals with the new 2020-21 retail malt beverage South Dakota farm wine license for Commonwealth Gaming and Holdings Company, Deuces Casino 9, 3401 West 85th Street, Suite A. Item 36, new 2021 retail malt beverage South Dakota farm wine license for Commonwealth Gaming and Holdings Company, Deuces Casino 7.5A, 4713 East 26th Street, Suite A, with conditional use permit 2928-2015 being approved on August 5th, 2015, pending permit issuance and final inspections per building services. Item 37, request to add video lottery terminals with the new 2020-21 retail malt beverage South Dakota farm wine license for Commonwealth Gaming and Holdings Company, Deuces Casino 7.5A, 4713 East 26th Street, Suite A. And item 38, renewal of 2020-21 retail malt beverage license for 57th Street Lodging Partners, Hampton Inn and Suites, 3701 West of Era Drive.
Hi, Jamie.
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have on items 27 through 38. I do want to point out that item 38 is a renewal, and the reason it is on this agenda like it is because it had an underage violation in this last renewal period. It was the only one, so it is on this agenda such as this. There were representatives that are to be present tonight if you have questions for them.
All right, thank you, Jamie. Councilors, do you have any questions? Well, actually, first I'll ask if anybody from the public is here to speak on any of these. All right, councilors, do you have questions for Jamie on any of these items? Okay. Is there a motion made?
Move to approve.
Second, Selberg.
Okay, motion by Kylie to approve, seconded by Councilor Selberg. Any discussion, council? Councilor Starr?
Sorry, I didn't turn the microphone on. If we could, I'd like to consider item 38 separately from this list. I was a little slow on the draw. That's the one that did fail a inspection sting.
All right, so
I
we'll
guess
modify
the easiest way at this point would be, I would move to strike item 38 from the motion, so we approve items 27 through 37.
Okay,
Second.
we can do that.
Second, Staley.
Okay, we can do that. Let's take a vote on that to pull that item then.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. Any final discussion on items 27 to 37 then? All right, let's take a vote on those, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. Now we'll consider item 38. separately. I suppose we'll reread that into the record. Tom, is that how we'll do that?
I could reread it. Item 38, renewal of 2021 retail malt beverage license for 57th Street Lodging Partners, Hampton Inn and Suites, 3701 West Avera Drive.
All right, is anyone from the public here to speak on that one tonight? All right, counselors, do you have questions for Jamie or that applicant?
Actually, Mr. Mayor, I have a questions for the applicant.
Okay. Is the applicant here tonight?
Tracy Kolb or Teresa Fetters?
They're not here tonight. Let's, Jamie will see if they're in the other room. They had said they were going to be here tonight, so we will check.
Just first week of August, if they're not.
July, what is it? Because we don't have a meeting next week. July 7th?
No, there's no one in the other room.
Okay, they are not
Mr.
here
Mayor,
tonight.
I would move to defer this item to July 7th, and then I probably will have a question for Jamie.
Second, Erickson.
Okay, motion to defer from Counselor Starr, seconded by Counselor Erickson. Any other discussion on that one?
Mr. Mayor.
Counselor Starr?
I just, when does it expire? Because I don't want to push it out too far for them, so they at least have a chance to be heard.
Their current license will expire June 30th.
Should have been here.
So their license is going to expire, is basically what we're saying,
Over the 4th of July.
over the 4th of July. That's it for me.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to defer this one then. Counselor Kiley?
I just want to make it clear, they were requested to be here.
They were, and I did receive an email them that said that they would be here, so.
There's nobody else here to represent them?
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor Starr, go ahead.
sorry, if you want to go.
Go ahead.
Do you have contact information for them? I'd give them till the end of the meeting to get here, at least to be heard. I don't want to pull their license until we could move this to the end of the agenda if you want to try to get a hold of them, or do you have any way to do that?
I don't have that with me, no, unfortunately.
I'm still going to ask that we move it to the bottom of the agenda, but I'll wait until.
Counselor Erickson?
Just for historical purposes, this happened with another big box retailer, and it was over New Year's Eve. I believe it was I think it was most of us on the council, maybe 6 of 8, because they chose to not be here. And it stinks, but you got to be here, especially when you've had a violation. We always have them come forward to say, what are you doing differently? How are you going to ensure that minors are not getting booze, beer, cigarettes, whatever it is, in the hands? I mean, I hate to deny it for an extra week, but you should have been here.
Yeah, and I did receive an email stating the names. That's how I have their names. So that was last week they had responded, so.
Jim, come forward, please.
Jim David with the City Council Office. If by chance they do arrive at this meeting later on, you can do a motion to reconsider, bring it back to the table, and then decide on it at that time. So.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Okay. Other discussion on this, Counselor Kiley?
I would just encourage Jamie, if at all possible, if you could still reach out to them. Thank you.
Right. All right, seeing no other discussion, the motion on the floor is to defer this item to, was it the 7th, July 7th?
Yes.
Okay, July 7th, by Kiley, second by Selberg. So we will go ahead and vote on that motion to defer, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
No.
Brecky,
No.
Erickson,
Yes.
Kiley.
Yes.
All right, that passes 6-2. We'll move on to item 39.
Item 39, first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 416 North Nesmith Avenue from the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District to the RT2 Townhome Residential Traditional District, number 12175-2020, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 4-0. The recommendation is to set a date of second reading for Tuesday, July 7, 2020.
Good evening, Jason.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Jason Bieber representing Planning and Development Services. This is an application by Gene Murphy. The owner is James Bunker. It's located at 416 North Naismith Avenue. It's roughly 0.14 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is we are looking at matching the correct zoning with the current use of the property. It's been a converted house, two-unit converted house for some time.
All right, thank you, Jason. Anyone from the public care to speak on this item tonight? Counselors, got any questions for Jason on it? All right, look for a motion to set a date of second reading for Tuesday, July 7 on this.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, motion by Selberg, seconded by Kylie on that. Any discussion, council? All right, let's vote on it, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg. Yes. Sale,
Yes.
Starr. Yes. Staley,
Yes.
Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. Next item.
Item 40, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located east of North Marion Road and north of Interstate 90 from the AG Agriculture and C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar Districts to the I2 Heavy Industrial District, number 12173-2020, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 4-0. Recommendation is to set a date of second reading for Tuesday, July 7th, 2020.
The applicant here is Paul Korn with Sayer Associates. The owner is the Sioux Falls Development Foundation. It's located north of Interstate 90 and east of North Marion Road. It's roughly 24.57 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is the Development Foundation did purchase some additional land from McCrosson's Boys Ranch, and they're just looking at zoning that to I-2 heavy industrial and then continuing the development of the Foundation Park industrial area.
Thanks, Jason. Anyone from the public who would like to speak to this item? Counselors, you got any questions for Jason tonight?
I have a question.
Counselor Staley.
Jason, McCrosson's use of this would be what? Was it?
It was vacant property for them. If you look at the aerial here, they're actually south of that street. You know, I believe it was some property that they swapped with the Development Foundation 3 or 4 years ago, and so it was really nothing that they were going to plan to use in the future. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Jason on this? All right, look for motion. Set a date of second reading for Tuesday, July 7.
So moved.
Second, Sale.
Motion by Kylie, seconded by Counselor Sale. Any discussion? Let's take a vote on this one.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Next item.
Item 41, first reading an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 2001 East 8th Street from the S2 Institutional Campus PUD to the S1 General Institutional District, number 12168-2020, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 4-0. The recommendation is to set a date of second reading for Tuesday, July 7th, 2020.
The applicant here is Stacy McMahon with Coke Hazard. The owner is the Sioux Falls Ministry Center. It's located at 2001 East A Street. It's roughly 13.77 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is the Sioux Falls Ministry Center is looking at selling off a portion of this property in the northeast corner, and then the Children's Inn is looking at buying it and then constructing a new facility on the property.
All right, thank you, Jason. Anyone from the public like to speak on this item tonight? All right, counselors, do you have any questions for Jason on this? I also know that applicants are here as well. If you have any questions for them, Counselor Nitzert.
Do I understand this one properly, that whether it was rezoned or not, this use could go forward? They would just have to do a conditional use permit no matter what. The only difference is that they don't have to do the coordinated plan as an entire
Yep,
campus?
correct, council member. So this was zoned as S2 PUD as part of Shade Places, and it really functioned more as a campus when it was all owned by the state in one giant ownership and working together. Since Rich's group has purchased the Sioux Falls Ministry Center, they're really doing their own thing in the middle, and then they're looking at selling off that east portion to the Children's Inn, and then another lot that's adjacent to 10th Street for a future user. And those two users really kind of want to do their own thing, so it's really not functioning as a campus anymore. Uses are similar, it's just everybody's kind of doing their own thing out there, so.
Yeah, and then it's a human services facility, it's considered, so it'll have to come forward for conditional use?
Correct, they will have to do a conditional use permit
Okay,
at the Planning Commission, so.
Other questions for Jason on this item?
Just,
Mr. Starr?
Mr. Mayor, actually, I if it's time, I wouldn't mind hearing from one of the applicants, whether it's Ms. LaValle or someone from Children's Inn, more just because I'm excited this is a great project and give them the opportunity to share with the public what they're doing and one more chance to pitch would be great.
Sure. Maybe we'll hear from Michelle. Can I put you in? Amy, perfect.
It's the mask.
I'll say when Amy's coming up here, Amy and Children's Inn are honestly the only nonprofit in the whole city that every month sends me a report on their intakes, where they're up year over year, so we can see what's happening in our community in terms of the shelter bed needs and so forth. So I always appreciate that. I always read it. So thank you for doing that every month.
Thank you. Thank you for reading it. Amy Carter with Children's Inn. You just wanted to know a little bit more about the project, or?
Yeah, just, because I think of us as a city as a partner. I do as well, read the same email each month and am appalled most of the time by the numbers and the things that are going on in our community. But I am very thankful by the time I finish the email that the service that you provide, because there isn't another group in town that would do that for us. It allows our police department to find shelter both for women and their children and families that you deal with. So I just wanted to give you the chance to be excited about this project, because I got to think that you guys are really excited about where this is going and being able to, unfortunately, expand, but to provide better services for your clients.
Yes, absolutely very excited. This has really been a need for several years. We've been serving victims of domestic violence and child abuse and neglect since 1977, but just in the last several years, we've been really exceeding our capacity on a regular basis. And so the need for additional bed space for victims of domestic violence has been there for several years. And so with the support of the city and the county and law enforcement, as you mentioned, and of course now the Empower campus being able to be a neighbor to that, we are really looking forward to be able to serve more individuals in our community. Absolutely. So, and we just appreciate all the support from the council. Absolutely.
All right. Any other questions for Amy or any of the other folks who are here? All right, I look for a motion, set a date of second reading for Tuesday, July 7. Thanks, Amy.
So move, Star.
Second, Sale.
All right, motion by Councilor Starr, seconded by Sale. Any discussion, council? All right, let's take a vote on that, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Daly,
Yes.
Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
All right, that item passes 8-0. Next item, please.
Item 42, first reading, an ordinance to the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 916 South 9th Avenue from the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District to the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District, number 12165-2020, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 4-0. Recommendation is to set a date of second reading for Tuesday, July 7, 2020.
The applicant and owner here is Habitat for Humanity. It's located at 916 South 9th Avenue, just north of the Avera McKenna and Main campus. It's about 0.13 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is Habitat for Humanity is looking at constructing a single-family home, and this lot is less than 50 feet wide.
Thank you, Jason. Anyone from the public here to speak on this topic?
Move to set the second reading for Tuesday, July 7th.
All right, motion by Erickson, seconded by Kylie on that. Any discussion on the council? All right, we'll take a vote on that one.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr, Staley,
Yes.
Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. Next item.
Item 43, first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, authorizing the mayor to enter into a lease agreement between the City of Sioux Falls and the Sioux Empire Triage Center. Recommendation is to set a date of second reading for Tuesday, July 7, 2020.
Hi, Alicia.
Hi. Good evening, City Council. Alicia Kalura, Assistant Director of Public Health. As I mentioned to you earlier today in informational, I'd like to recommend that we withdraw this item. I do think through ongoing discussions, we will have a revision to make to the insurance section, and so I would like to reschedule to bring that back to you, likely on July 7th, but for tonight, withdraw.
All right. So do we vote on a withdrawal?
You can make a main motion to withdraw the item.
All right, all right, does anyone want to make a motion to withdraw this item?
I'll move to withdraw, Nitzert.
Second, Kylie.
All right, Motion by Neitzer, seconded by Kylie to withdraw this item, and we will get on the agenda soon when we get that ironed out. Any discussion on that motion to withdraw? All right, is there any public input on this? I don't think there would be. All right, we'll take a vote on that motion to withdraw then.
Council members Neitzer,
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Star, Staley,
Yes.
Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
All right, that passes 7-0. Item 44, please.
Item 44, first reading an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, authorizing the mayor to enter into a joint participation agreement among Sanford Health, Avera McKinnon Hospital, and University Health Center, City of Sioux Falls, Minnehaha County, South Dakota, and Sioux Empire Triage Center. Recommendations to set a date of second reading for Tuesday, July 7th, 2020.
Okay. Alicia Clora, Assistant Health Director. So with this item, we are able to continue the progress of the Community Triage Center. As I mentioned to you last week at Informational, we had a project update, we introduced the project director, and we also discussed the joint participation agreement. And that item is up for first reading tonight. It's ordinance number 0382, authorizing the mayor to enter into a joint participation agreement among Sanford Health, Avera McKinnon Hospital and University Health Center, City of Sioux Falls, Minnehaha County, and the Sioux Empire Triage Center. This joint participation agreement defines a cooperative form and a funding approach for the Triage Center. It has a 3-year term, and it also identifies the financial contribution of each of the entities, Sanford, Avera, County, and City. For City, the contribution is the $173,000 in-kind annual credit for the City Annex Building, 132 North Dakota Avenue, as well as $257,000 annually for cash contribution towards operations. Through this historic agreement, Sioux Falls will be able to open the doors of a new triage center, which will fill a gap of behavioral health triage and immediate substance abuse assessment in our community. Accessible, evidence-based, and life-saving care will be available 24/7 to all residents of our community, regardless of their ability to pay, in a welcoming, community-based setting. As a reminder, the services will be sobering center, medical detox, psychiatric acute care services, substance use disorder assessment, case management, and referral to community-based services. So this agreement has been signed by Minnehaha County, Avera, Sanford, and the Sioux Empire Triage Board, and is ready for your regard.
Thank you, Alicia. Anyone from the public who would like to speak to this item here? All right, councilors, do you have any questions for Alicia on this item? Councilor Starr?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I think I finally got this figured out in my head how this works. So help me, Assistant Director, to make sure that I've got this. So the city is leasing the space to the Sioux Empire Triage Center, who will hire or select a vendor, potentially the link, to run the actual facility in combination with the programs that already exist, like detox and the things that you're there. I think I can describe it in a concise manner now. So following which group is running what and how it all fits together. So I'm on the right page?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you.
Other questions for Alicia on this item? All right, I'll look for a motion. Set a date of second reading for Tuesday, July 7 on this.
So moved, Erickson.
Second, Kylie.
Motion by Erickson, seconded by Kylie on that. Discussion amongst the council. All right, let's vote on this one, please.
Council members Neitzer,
Yes.
Selberg. Yes. Sale,
Yes.
Star,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
All right, that item passes 8-0. We'll move on to item 45.
Item 45, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, repealing ordinance number 31-20, authorizing interim revisions to Chapter 57 of the Code of Ordinances of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, pertaining to the novel coronavirus COVID-19. Recommendation, set a date of second reading for Tuesday, July 7th, 2020.
All right, Councilor Starr, are you going to?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I do. If we remember as a council what we did back in the middle of when we were talking about some of the shutdowns of the city in the middle of all of the coronavirus meetings that we did, and I've lost track of which time and which day we met, but specifically this was one of the items that came up, was to move our garbage service or to have residents move the garbage to the curbside for pickup. It was part of a national concern that garbage haulers nationwide had, that if their employees became sick or there had a reduction in the amount of staffing, that the public sanitation would turn into a huge problem if they couldn't do the job. It's not like you can, in those essential services, whether it's our water, sewer, garbage service is a vital thing, and it was something that we passed rather quickly. In fact, we passed it on an emergency basis in one reading to make this change. The ordinance at that time was connected to the mayor's executive order 218 that the timing of repeal of curbside or requiring residents to move their trash to the curbside to pick up is tied to the executive order. But we are at a point where I don't feel we are at least not at that point where the mayor should repeal the executive order, but I think we're far enough along in the process that garbage service should go back to the side of residents' homes. Where I'm concerned is this last 2 weeks with all the wind we've had, the amount of trash that continues to blow. If we want to do a full-blown study of potentially moving things to the curbside for residents, we should do that. We should have that conversation with the solid waste board. We should have that either in an informational, we should allow the public to have a chance to weigh in. This is a service that is not done in a lot of communities. It's a premium for our community and something that I believe our residents have come to expect, as well as the look of the community, not only the trash that would blow or potentially dogs getting into containers with trash and things moving. And it hasn't been that severe over the last couple of weeks, but I think potentially there was a reason this ordinance was passed in our city for more than 20 plus years. So what I did is I wanted to make sure that we consider this as a separate item from what we would do as part of emergency measures for COVID. If we need to continue this, I'm okay with that as well, and I would consider when we get ready for a motion to maybe look at moving to August 3rd to give it another month to see where we're at with numbers, but we're not seeing the reduction in the workforce, we're not seeing those things. So I want to make sure that we consider this in two separate things. The things we do in the case of an emergency, I was all for and voted for this and thought it was there. The reason that it needs to move forward is that we don't get into a situation where we just assume that's the way it's going to be for the future. And again, I don't want to confuse residents of going back and forth, and I understand that as well. But we need, we're going to make this type of change, it's something that we need to do in a thoughtful, planned out manner rather than just putting it in place permanently as part of the COVID response. So two separate issues. So I'd like to see this move forward to a second reading, but wait for the second reading until August, the first week, August 3rd.
All right, thank you, Councilor Starr. Anyone from the public who would like to speak to this item tonight? All right, councilors, let's go ahead and get a motion on the floor, and then we can move into any discussion. You want to set that motion?
Mr. Mayor, I would move to set a second reading for Tuesday, August 3rd.
All right.
Second, Brecky.
All right, motion by Starr, second by Brecky on that. Discussion amongst council on this item. Councilor Sale.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Starr, I just want to go on record as I'm not a very big fan of curbside pickup. But I would support this to go to August 3rd if we make sure that we can go ahead and get it to the Solid Waste Planning Board and get their input. I'm a big believer we use our boards and listen to their recommendations going forward.
All right, thank you, Councilor Sale. Any other discussion on this one? Councilor Sahlberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would I be able to ask Director Cotter a question or two?
You sure can. We're paying him big bucks to be here right now, so let's put him to work.
Oh, he brought the small binder, though.
Good evening, Mark Cotter with the Office of Public Works.
Thank you for being here. From the correspondence that I've seen through this, that I think most of us have seen or shared in some of the conversation about this recently. I think what I've understood this is maybe not necessary, it's already built into the process that what's being asked to be done here is going to eventually happen in so many words. Have we had a chance, number one, am I reading that correct from our discussions and correspondence through many of us? And number two, have we had a chance to do much data gathering, get some things together and study some of this that we're talking about here before we make some decisions?
We haven't. I think just with the nature and the timing, I seen the ordinance come forward on Saturday. I do think, solid waste is such an important utility in our city to make sure that we have good, clean process to get rid of people's solid waste. And I think one of the things that I would extend is that, the hauling community was very good to work with as we looked at this across the country and to make sure we could still see that essential service delivered. I would like us to go back to them and as well go back to the Solid Waste Planning Board. There's some good data we're gonna, I'm sure, as a community, really hear when we source what they've experienced. And I think we bring that back as a community discussion through this, but there is already a trigger built in the current action that the city council took, that when the executive order is rescinded at some point in time due to the pandemic, that this will also be.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilor Kiley?
Thank you. I just had the opportunity to see this for the first time Saturday after the agenda was published earlier. And it's interesting that Councilor Starr has mentioned that it should go in the future to the board, to an informational prior to a first reading. So I question why it hasn't done that for this meeting, because we could accomplish that. Many of us on this council have been accused of circumventing the process and not being transparent. Yet it happens by one of the individuals who has accused the rest of us of doing that. So that's one of the reasons why I will be voting no on this. The main reason is the same reason that my colleague to my right has stated, that it did not have the opportunity to go to the Solid Waste Planning Board as well too. We do have the boards in place for a purpose, and I do think that we should use them. I'm not certain that I'm a fan of the curbside service. However, I would like to see all of the information that surrounds that issue prior to making any kind of a decision. I understand we've had some windy days, to say the least, windy days. However, I don't know that I've seen really much difference in litter being blown around than I have when it's up in front of the garage, when there's actually a greater surface area that channels and funnels the wind to the garbage can. So I don't know that wind is necessarily the factor here, but what I would really be interested in finding out is what is the possible savings to the customer that might be passed along if we maintained this type of service. Because if it's reducing, I believe originally when this passed, it was stated that they could operate with up to 30% fewer employees. So you would like to think that maybe some of that savings could be passed along to customers as well too. So there might be some other advantages that offset some of the disadvantages, the aesthetic aspect that I personally am not thrilled with too. So I would like it to go to the Solid Waste Planning Board before we make any further decisions on this matter. So I'll be voting no this evening.
All right, thank you, Councilor. Any other discussion on this item? Councilor Staley?
Through these weeks since this passed, I did receive emails from constituents concerned about it. And especially I heard from elderly people who said it was really a hardship for them to drag that garbage can. I mean, some of them physically could not take the garbage can to the curb. So when this was passed, I was I think we have emails that say that this was only going to be a COVID issue. The garbage handlers were having a hard time finding people. And I think, I agree with Counselor Starr. I think that has somewhat leveled off. So it makes sense to me that we would put this aside, and if it needs to come back as a separate ordinance issue, then it needs to be vetted out with the community. Because there was really no community discussion when this came about. It was just in the midst, the whirlwind of all of our COVID resolutions and ordinances and discussions. So I don't know that the public was really involved much in it. And if we've passed the need for it to be a COVID-related issue, then I think that's a separate discussion.
All right, thank you. Counselor Sale?
If I could, Director Cotter, is the Solid Waste Board going to meet prior to August 3rd? Do they have a scheduled meeting?
I would have to check. They normally meet quarterly, so we'd have to pull them together in a fairly short time period. It's one of the mayor's larger boards, and it's represented by all 5 counties since it's the regional landfill. I do too think that it's important, since we have about 20 licensed haulers, about 14 of them actually provide service in the city of Sioux Falls. Just like we did to bring the prior action forward to you, I think we had connection with almost everyone. There may have been one that we didn't get like a written position on. I do think that that's important too. I think, anytime you go through something like this, it was absolutely predicated by COVID, but let's see what we've learned in the last 8 weeks. This went into effect about mid-April. It's only been in effect just over 60 days, and I would like us to be able to glean from some of that data as well. So both engage the haulers and the Solid Waste Planning Board.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Counselor Sale.
Just one point on that I'll go ahead and vote to put this on the second reading in August, but if the board hasn't met till then, I'll probably vote no until we have that data in front of us and we have a presentation to see what is actually happening out there. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Counselor. Any other discussion, Council, on this one?
Mayor?
Counselor Brecky, go ahead.
Mayor? I too will be voting for this, but again would move to defer it in August if the Solid Waste Planning Board has not had an opportunity to meet, because I do think this needs to be separated out, because it was brought to us as a COVID necessity issue, and we readily and willingly have passed it as such. And in the meantime, we've also used it as a test, I think, for the city to see if the city is interested, or we're contemplating using it as a test to see if the city is interested at all in changing the curbside services permanently. And when we did pass it, I did qualify my vote, and I said, I am supportive of this for COVID purposes, but I am not supportive of it for the future. And I believe that Sioux Falls, for many years, has been in a luxury position when it comes to the waste haulage, the removal of our solid waste. And the reason for that is really very unique in that we have sort of a unique model that has worked for us. It's not been the kind of model that I think most cities have. Most cities either have a municipal service or they have a contracted service, and they enjoy very mediocre services in a lot of countries. In a lot of cities. We, on the other hand, have a free market system which has been kind of nurtured over the years and kind of drilled down to have a handful, really, but enough handful to create a nice competitive market of around 14 haulers that give really good service to our citizens. And if they don't give good service, then there's other, the citizens move around and they find better service, and it's been highly competitive. And I believe when we do the research, we're going to find that we receive better service for a very good competitive price. And that the luxury that I'm talking about is that luxury of not having to bring our garbage to the curb is a luxury. It's a luxury for two reasons. One, because that's an ugly sight. I don't care what time of the day it is, how it moves about the city, if you divide the city in quadrants and how you do it. It's really ugly during that period of the day when all of those those garbage cans. And when you think of that in your life here in Sioux Falls, all of you that all these years have grown up, think how beautiful we've had it, that we've never had that period of the day where you see that at any time of the day. So it's a luxury. I think it's something we should try to preserve if we can, if it's affordable and it's what the public wants us to do. And so I want to be very careful that, again, this is separated out because it was presented to us as a COVID necessity. And that's why I seconded this ordinance, because I wanted to have the discussion separate. I think we're all on board for that. I have no problem with moving it August or however long it needs to be moved, but I think it does need to be separated from COVID, because at the same time, we're now saying we're trying to get back to normal, and we're just talking about it. Councilor Erickson was talking about it today, trying to, do enticement to get things back to normal. And unless there's data that's supporting right now that we need this to be done because of COVID, I think then it's one of those things we need to open up and then figure out what direction we're going with it for the future. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Counselor. Any other discussion on this? All right, the motion is to set a date of second reading for Tuesday, August, what was it, 3rd? August 3rd.
Is that the right date?
Is it the right date?
Mayor,
Calendar?
I just want to clarify with Counselor Starr, who made the motion. I thought I heard for Tuesday, July 7th, but you said August?
No, August 3rd.
It would be August 4th?
Or 4th, I apologize.
So the first regular meeting in August.
4th. All right, so set a date of second reading for Tuesday, August 4th is the motion. Let's go ahead and take a vote on that, please.
Council members Nitzert? No. Selberg?
No.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
No.
Kylie?
No.
All right, that ends in a 4-4 tie, so my vote would be a no on that. So that fails 5-4. Next item, please.
Mr. Mayor?
Counselor Starr.
Yes, could I have a point of personal privilege? I believe the applicant from item 38 is here. Before we make another motion, I would like to give them a chance to be heard, and then we can decide how we can fix it if we want to take it back off the table.
Do we do a motion to reconsider? Someone make a motion to reconsider item 38?
Mr. Mayor.
Mayor, there would be a motion to reconsider, and then a motion would be made regarding the item itself. So first, a motion to reconsider from somebody.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to reconsider item 38 from the unfinished business.
Second.
All right, seconded by Kylie on that. All right, we'll reconsider item 38 right now, and
There would have to be a vote on that. A majority vote would allow it to be
sorry, my
reconsidered.
bad. Vote to reconsider, motion and a second. Let's take a vote on that motion to reconsider that item right now.
Council members Nitzert?
Yes.
Selberg? Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0, so let's read 38 into the record, and we'll consider that item right now.
Item 38, renewal of 2020-21 retail malt beverage license for 57th Street Lodging Partners, Hampton Inn and Suites, 3701 West Avera Drive.
All right, so we'll invite the applicant forward. We read this into the record, and we might have a couple questions for you. Thanks for coming into our meeting tonight. Appreciate it. And any counselors have any questions for the applicant tonight?
Mr. Mayor, if I
Go
could.
ahead.
Yeah, just explain what happened and then what your procedure is to deal with people who are underage that attempt to purchase alcohol.
Okay. One of my front desk agents working, she did sell alcoholic item to an underage gal that walked to the front door, walked past the desk, went to the shop that we have, pulled an item, came back to the desk. She did not check her ID and did take the money from her, and then undercover officer came out of the bathroom and then explained to her what had happened.
So what is your policy, or take me through your training process with people who sell alcohol to the public, and then what the penalties are then for if you don't check an ID or if you don't follow through the process?
Sure. So we do have all of our front desk agents that are selling to the alcohol. They go through the retailers alcohol training, the South Dakota retailers, which they do that online, and they do have to pass that, which has quite a few tests in it. So they do get that and a certificate. And then we card everybody that comes in the door. That is supposed to be the policy. And then as far as what happens when you sell, after talking with the owner, we do suspend our employees for 3 days. And then if there was a second time, they would be automatically terminated.
All right, thank you.
Just, Mr. Mayor, if I could, and this is going to come across stronger than I intended, but maybe not. You realize what we're doing for you tonight. Your license would have expired. You wouldn't have been able to sell until after we meet again and then after publication. So it was a considerable amount of time. We reached out, and we don't do that very often. So I just want to make sure that you understand where we're at tonight.
Counselor Erickson?
Can you, I'm reading your business, Hampton Inn and Suites. Do you have just a cooler there cooler and snacks, you can grab popcorn or Advil or a beer, or is that what we're talking about? Because you don't have a restaurant bar here.
We do not. It is a cooler. It's called the Treat Shop. It has sodas in it, and then it also has beer and wine.
Okay. It's not given away for free. It's just,
No.
okay. Because
No,
some
for purchase.
hotels have social hours and things like that. So I wasn't sure if that was a component of it either.
No,
Okay.
free.
So I'm wondering how often those are stung, because I can't imagine you do a huge amount. I mean, you're selling singles. It's not like you're selling.
I do know that we did have another one come through probably 8 months before that.
Okay.
And they did pretty much the same thing.
Yep.
But that one, we did card the person.
And is this your first time?
Yes.
Is your employee still there?
No.
Counselor Neitzer?
So just for my education, in this particular case, so if you have a cooler, usually you'll have like a snack area with coolers and, chips, and then you usually will, sometimes there's a window right to the front desk, sometimes you go around to a front desk. Is the alcohol just in a cooler where anybody can take it? I mean, is there a potential issue of just somebody could walk down and just take a beer and walk up to their room and you don't have a staff member at the desk?
Well, the desk is facing this direction.
Okay.
The cooler, the treat shop is over here, and the cooler is on the side over here. We do have a camera on that, and we do also have a buzzer. So if the staff member wasn't there in the back getting something, there would be the camera and then also a buzzer.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Tracy while we got her here? Okay. Can I get a motion on this item then?
Move approval.
Second, Kylie.
Motion approved by Selberg, seconded by Kylie. Any further discussion, council? All right, hearing none. Can we vote on this one, please?
Council members Neitzer,
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson, Kylie.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 8-0. Thanks for coming in tonight. Appreciate it. You bet. All right, we'll move on to item 46 then.
Item 46, a resolution authorizing an application for financial assistance, authorizing the execution and submittal of the applications, and designating an authorized representative to certify and sign payment requests.
Good evening again, Mayor and City Council. I'm Mark Cotter at the Office of Public Works tonight. This is a procedural item that we do to make application for funding through the DENR. I've got just a couple of slides here. You would have seen something very similar to this time last summer for our first of 4 loans. In working with the DENR, this first picture just reorientates you to where our wastewater plant is and where the wastewater expansion of $159 million will take place between now and 2024. You've seen this slide before of where the recommended improvements, either rehabilitation or expansions, will occur at the plant. And then essentially, the reason we're here tonight is that a procedural item for us to simply make application for funding comes in the summer, and then the actual bond ordinance would come in the fourth quarter of each year. The DNR had said that they're supportive if we were to bring all for loans 2, 3, and 4 forward in one resolution for you, which is what we're here tonight for. But then each of the respective loans, loan 2, 3, and 4, we would still be coming to you each fall, the fall of 2020, the fall of 2021, fall of 2022. So with your support, we'll make application for those remaining 3 loans and continue to progress forward on the design.
All right, thank you, Mark. Anyone from the public who would like to speak to this item tonight? Councilors, got any questions for Mark? Councilor Knights, go ahead.
Yeah, Director Cotter, I'm not sure that was completely clear to me what we're authorizing you to do and what's going to come. What's changing?
Certainly. So let me go back. So we've worked closely in conjunction with the DNR to ensure that we can secure low interest funding. So they need advance notice, informal advance notice from the elected body that we can make application for funding. And so what we did this time last year, we made application for loan number 1, and that was about $41.6 million. So without this, if you, on the screen, you'd see loan number 2, we would simply be here just for the next loan of $18.5 million. In working with the DNR, they said the key is to make a formal application by the elected body for funding. This does not lock us into a loan until you'll actually see bond counsel here this fall, which is Doug Hayek.
Okay, so we are authorizing you administratively to make the application for a loan for the next 3 loans, but when they are approved and you're ready to actually sign on the dotted line to actually...
That's a separate action, and that'll be a
That
bond
would be a
ordinance.
council action. So we're just
right.
giving you authority to apply for a loan, but we still have to approve that we are going to pay the bill, essentially.
That's right. So this is by resolution. The bond ordinances would be a true ordinance with bond counsel here. And then we can also tell you what the terms of those notes are going to be. The rate package has already been established through 2023 for customers. And we're just following through on what we've previously brought before you.
Does this help the DENR in terms of planning to know what, because it gives basically our intention that we will presumably be going forward with these? Is that part of the reasoning, so they can make sure they have the funding in place? Or?
I think it's good for them, and it also streamlines the process for us. Instead of coming in before you 3 different times, we come before you once. This has been in the capital plan. It's been part of the rate package. So I would say it helps us both. Helps this council streamline the application process, but we won't streamline the bond ordinance piece. We'll be bringing those individually to you each fall.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
Other questions from Mark? All right. Councilors, look for a motion on this.
Move to approve. Second, Sale.
By Kylie, seconded by Sale to approve this item. Any discussion on the council? All right, let's take a vote on this one, please.
Council members Neitzer,
Yes.
Elberg. Yes. Sale.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Recky.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Passes 8-0. Next item, please.
Item 47, a resolution declaring it necessary to levy and levying a frontage assessment against the lots, tracts, and parcels of land fronting and abutting upon 21st Street from Phillips Avenue to 7th Avenue in the city of Sioux Falls for the purpose of maintaining, planting, and otherwise improving and caring for the center parkways and boulevard thereon.
Good evening, Don.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Don Kearney with Parks and Recreation. This is our annual assessment for the maintenance of the 21st Street boulevards between Phillips Avenue and 7th Avenue. It's obviously on the north side of McKinnon Park. There are 53 property owners that are assessed 85 cents per front foot. The average assessment is $62 a year. The assessment's been in place since 1915, and the assessment has not changed, the assessment rate has not changed since 1998. Staff recommends approval of this resolution.
All right, thank you, Don. Anyone from the public who would like to speak to this item? All right, councilors, you got any questions for Don on this one?
Move to approve Erickson.
Second.
Motion to approve Erickson, seconded by Kylie. Any discussion on the council? Councilor Neitzer?
I'd just like to say, based on my frontage, it would cost me $55.25. So if you want to start doing it in normal boulevards, I'd gladly pay $55 a year to have what I see over there. So we get a whole revenue program going here. So it's beautiful. It's great. So
thank you.
Thanks.
Other discussion, council? Councilor Kylie?
Actually, I'd just like to thank the residents who have been agreeable to this assessment for many, many years now. Thank you.
Yeah. Other discussion, council? All right, let's take a vote on this one.
Council members Neitzer.
Yes.
Selberg. Yes. Sale.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Brecky.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
All right, that one passes 8-0. Item 48.
Item 48, a resolution establishing a policy for acceptance of gifts of personal property for park purposes of a value more than $100,000.
Good evening, Council. Don Kearney with Parks and Recreation. State law regarding this particular item related to gifting of for Parks and Recreation purposes goes into effect on July 1st. And essentially, that state law allows the municipality to establish a policy by resolution for acceptance of gifts for park purposes below an amount to be determined by the governing body. The proposed resolution before you sets that amount at $100,000. So below this amount, the city may accept the gift without a review of the Parks and Recreation Board and approval of the City Council. And then anything above this dollar amount must be approved and reviewed by the Parks and Recreation Board and the City Council. The amount that we chose of $100,000 really mirrors the new bid limits where it's required for public advertising for public improvements. At this level, obviously, it requires public notice to bidders. I would also mention that this only applies to personal property and not real property. And the change in state law, if you remember, was one of legislative priorities that the City Council supported this last legislative cycle. So what does that really mean based on some historic gifts that the city has received? So the things that you would continue to improve would be all land donations, any gift with a naming right, very much like the Kirby Dog Park at Fort Sod, the Softball Hall of Fame building, for example. And then there are other ordinances that apply to like sculptures and historic markers that require council approval as well. So you would continue to see those types of gifts come before you. And some of the things that would eliminate are some of those smaller items. We get gifts such as batting cages, backstroke flags at the Midco, veterans pavers, trees and flowers. Some come in just one flower, it depends on what it is. They can be very small. We've had some court striping donated to us, display banners, sunscreen dispensers, bike repair stations. So those smaller items would be approved administratively. And then again, those larger items on the left column would still go before the City Council. So with that, take any questions you might have about this proposed resolution.
Excuse me. Thank you, Don. Anyone from the public here to speak on this tonight? Councilors, you got any questions for Don on this? Councilor Neitzer?
So you listed some things that would be small dollar value, although a batting cage, I suppose, potentially could be somewhat expensive. I'm not sure. Do you have any examples of something that might push that limit of 100,000? Could it be like a gazebo, as an example, as long as it didn't have naming rights? You have anything you can think of in contemporary history of the parks that was near 100?
Well, the Sherman Park building, that was like at $110,000. That would have been one that it hit the bid limit, but it was also real property as a building. And so that would have come either way, whether it was over $100,000 amount. I would tell you the majority of our stuff is in that lower dollar amount range. Usually if it's $100,000, it usually has some other strings attached, such as a naming right or some other trigger that would probably push it to the council level.
You remember the gazebo down at 57th Street, donated by, I think, a developer?
Yeah.
Did that have a naming rights component to it? Do you remember?
No, it did not. No.
Okay. And then for certain things, if it's just like, I'll just say the gazebo again, would that potentially go to a Parks Board for, just to get a blessing on placement or things like that?
Yeah, any gifting agreement, if there was an actual agreement associated with it, where there would be conditions spelled out, that Parks and Recreation Board would review that.
Okay, thanks.
You bet.
Just one follow-up question. So oftentimes, so let me use the example of trees, because we have the Emerald Ash Borer, and I know there are probably some people that would love to just have more trees, whether it's in McKinnon Park or just doing that replacement. So just hypothetically speaking, and this is probably a poor example, but if a person gives X amount of trees, say in one shot and it equaled 50 grand, and then the next shot was 60 grand, would that trigger it because it's added together? Or if it's separate transactions, then it's fine, but if I'm doing it, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I know that, and I'm having a mini flashback to Sioux Falls Has Jobs and that whole website thing that took place many years ago, and that was kind of, we'll say, creatively done in two separate transactions, and so it didn't hit the bid limit then because of the timeline of that. And I know that's not your department, it's pre this administration, but that caused some crazy heartache, and it was kind of tricky in my opinion. So I just don't want to see something, and I know the intent behind this, so please, I don't want to put any doubt in any of it, because I think this is an amazing thing that we're able to, you know, if somebody wants to donate a tree in somebody's honor or a bench or whatever, let's do it. Let's have that be done. So I'm just kind of curious how that works, how it's written, and I haven't looked close enough.
Yeah, I'd probably defer to the city attorney's office on that. My guess is that we'd err on the side of just being conservative and bring it back, but I don't know if Stacy has an opinion on that or not.
No, nothing really to add. I mean, it's situational.
And truly, I don't think that's the intent behind any of that, because who's going to give $120,000 in two separate tree donations? But you know what I'm saying, is just, I think that it's done in a way that could really be beneficial to our parks system, whether it's benches or playground equipment or whatever it is.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, and the vast majority of them are small dollar amounts, and so the challenge is that we can't technically accept it until the council's approved it. So that's been a bit of the challenge.
And we shouldn't really be in the business of approving a park bench every week or whatever, in my opinion. I think that's silly. It's yeah, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Councilor Neitzer.
One follow-up. So what if somebody wants to donate a very nice play set, but they condition it on, it has to be at this park because that's where my kids live and that's where my neighbors' kids live. Does that trigger any sort of approval, or is that still just a donation?
We would likely not accept it typically unless it was a brand new manufactured, meet all the CPSC guidelines.
I'll stipulate that it's exactly what you want. It's brand new, and we're replacing they're saying we want the Cadillac play set and we want it in X park.
So
what do you do?
If it exceeds that $100,000, the council would need to approve it.
But it doesn't. It's $85,000. Just for the sake of argument. But I'm stipulating that it has to be in a certain park. Does that?
Yeah, I don't think that would matter.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the dollar threshold that really drives it, or any other ordinance that would apply, such as a naming right or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm not giving you a hard time. I'm just trying to make sure I kind of understand in the real world how this will look. So, okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Don on this one?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second, Selberg.
All right, motion by Erickson, seconded by Selberg to approve. Any other discussion, council? All right, let's vote on this one, please.
Council members Neitzer.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Sale.
Yes.
Starr. Yes. Staley.
Yes.
Brecky.
Yes.
Erickson. Yes. Kylie.
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. Item 49, please.
Item 49, a resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of members to the Southeastern Council of Government, CCOG, Board of Directors, Urbanized Development Commission, UDC, and Sioux Empire Leadership Council.
Good evening, council members. Jim David with the City Council Office. This resolution pretty well speaks for itself. It just extends the current terms that the councilors have on the Urbanized Development Commission, the Southeastern Council of Government Executive Board, and then the Sioux Empire Leadership Council. It will expire on August 1st or until a successor is found or appointed. Happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone from the public here to speak on this? Counselors, any questions? Someone want to make a motion on this one?
Move to approve?
Second sale.
All right, motion by Kylie, seconded by Sale to approve this item. Any discussion, council? All right, let's vote on it, please.
Council members Nitzert,
Yes.
Dahlberg.
Yes.
Sale,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Brecky,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0. Counselors, any new business?
Move to adjourn, Star.
Second sale.
All right, motion to adjourn by Starr, seconded by Sale. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed?
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned. Have a good night.